Escape from Mr. Lemoncello's library. The first thing Kyle could see inside was a trickling fountain in a grand foyer of brilliant white marble. The fountain featured a life-size statue of Mr. Lemoncello standing on a lily pad in the middle of a shallow reflecting pool 10 feet wide. His head was tilted back so water could spurt up from his mouth into an arc. Kyle noticed a quote chiseled on the statue's pedestal. "Knowledge not shared remains unknown. Luigi L. Lemoncello." Beyond the fountain, through an arched walkway, was a huge room filled with desks. When everybody had shuffled into the entrance hall, Dr. Janenko turned on the security guard. Clarence held the heavy steel door shut. Kyle heard the whir of spinning wheels, the clunk of grinding gears, and a reverberating clunk. "Wow," said Miguel. "Talk about a lock-in." "I'll be in the control center, Dr. Z," said security guard. "Very well, Clarence." Clarence disappeared behind a red door. "Now then, children," said the librarian, "if you will all follow me into the rotunda reading room." As the rest of the group started filing into the gigantic circular room, Kyle checked out a display case beside the red door. The sign over it read, "Staff picks, our most memorable reads." A dozen books were lined up on 4 shelves. One cover in the middle of the bottom row caught Kyle's eye. It showed a football player wearing a number 19 jersey dropping back to hurl a pass. Kyle made a mental note of the tile. In the pocket, Johnny Unitas and me. Tomorrow morning, when the lock-in was over, he might use his library card to check out for his big brother Mike. "Whoa!" Everybody guessed as they stepped into the rotunda reading room and looked up. The entire underside of the dome looked like space as seen from the Hubble telescope. A dusty spiral nebula billowed up, a galaxy of stars twinkled, and meteorites whizzed across the ceiling. Oh! The space imagery on the ceiling dissolved into 10 distinct panels, each one becoming a display of swirling graphics. "Those are 10 categories of the Dewey Decimal System," whispered Miguel, sounding awestruck. "See the panel with Cleopatra, the guy mountain climbing, and the Viking ship sailing across it? That's for 900 to 999. History and geography." "Cool," said Kyle. Tucked beneath the 10 screens in arched niches were incredible 3D statues glowing a ghostly green. "I believe those are holographic projections," said Andrew Peckelman, waving up at a statue that was waving down at him. The room under the dome was huge. It was circular, with a round desk at the center that was surrounded by 4 rings of reading desks. Kyle saw that half of the rotunda was filled with floor-to-ceiling bookshelves. The other half had balconies on the 2nd and 3rd floors that reminded him of the open atrium of a hotel he and his family had stayed at once. While everybody was gawking at the architecture, Dr. Chichenko said the words Kyle had been waiting to hear all day. "Now then, who's ready for our first game?" "Will everybody please line up behind that far desk in front of the children's room?" Dr. Chichenko gestured toward one of the wooden tables at the outermost ring of the room. "How many of you are familiar with Lemoncello's classic board game? Hurry to the top of the heap. 12 hands shot up." "Very good," said Dr. Z. Overhead, the Wonder Dome dissolved into a gigantic curved heap box top. "This will be a live 3-dimensional version of that game. Each of you will be asked a trivia question. If you are able to answer correctly, you will roll the dice and advance the equivalent number of desks. When you return to the starting point, you will move into the next concentric circle of desks. When you complete that ring, you will move into the next, and so on. If one of you makes it all the way to the desk at the center, you will be declared the winner." "But we don't have any dice," said Yasmin Smith-Snyder. "Yes, you do. See that smoky glass panel in the center of the desk? It's actually a touchscreen computer, currently running on Mr. Lemoncello's dice-rolling app. Simply swipe and flick your fingers across the glass to toss and tumble the animated dice." Dr. Z placed a stack of red cards on her desk. She looked like the host of a TV game show. "Before we begin, are there any other questions?" Charles raised his hand. "Yes. What will the winner win? After all, the prize is the most important part of any game." Kyle didn't totally agree, but he was too excited about playing the game to say anything. "Tonight's first prize," said Dr. Z, "is this golden key granting the winner access to Mr. Lemoncello's private and very posh bedroom suite up on the library's 3rd floor. Instead of spending the night on the floor in the sleeping bag, you'll be relaxing in a luxury with a feather bed, a 72-inch television screen, and state-of-the-art gaming console." Okay, Kyle was definitely interested in a particular prize. Judging from the wide-open eyes and the chorus of oohs and wows all around him, so was everybody else. Dr. Z flipped over the first question card. "What Major League pitcher was the last to win at least 30 games in one season?" 6 players got it wrong before Kyle got it right. Denny McLean. Correct. He swiped the glass panel, rolled a 10, and advanced 10 desks around the room. What United States Navy ship was once captured by the North Koreans? Miguel nailed that one. The USS Pueblo. He flew 12 spaces around the room. What did Apollo 8 accomplish that had never been done before? Akemi, Andrew Peckelman, and Kayla struck out on that one, but Charles knew the answer. It was the first spacecraft to orbit the moon. Correct. Chiltington rolled a 5, landing him in last place. Kyle's next question was tougher. Who was famous for saying, "Book 'em, Dano"? That guy in Hawaii 5-0? Please be more specific. The one with the shiny hair? Jack Lord? That is correct. Kyle breathed a sigh of relief. Thank goodness he and his dad sometimes watched old reruns of TV shows from the 60s. But when he flicked the computerized dice, his luck hit a brick wall. He rolled snake eyes and moved up 2 measly desks. Meanwhile, Miguel went down with a question about Barbra Streisand. Kyle wasn't exactly sure who she was. And Charles surged ahead with a correct answer about the Beatles, Hey Jude, and a double sixes roll. As the game went on, Kyle and Chiltington, the only player still standing, kept answering correctly and moving around the room until they were both seated at the desk in the innermost ring, only 6 spaces away from Dr. Z's desk in victory. Kyle was seriously glad he and his mom played so many games of Trivial Pursuit with the original, extremely old cards. Kyle, here's your next question. What song in the movie Dr. Dolittle won an Academy Award? Kyle squinted. He had that movie, an old VHS cassette tape that his mom had bought at a garage sale. Too bad they didn't have a VCR to watch it on. Even though he'd never seen the movie, he had read front and back a couple of times. Talk to the animals, walk with the animals. Correct. He started breathing again. Roll the dice, please, Mr. Keeley. Kyle did. Another pair of 1s. He moved up 2 spaces. Now he was only 4 desks away from winning. Mr. Chiltington, here's your next question. Who was the elected president in 1968? I believe that was Richard Milhouse Nixon. You are also correct. Chiltington didn't wait for the librarian to tell him to roll a dice. He flicked his fingers across the glass pad. Yes! Double sixes again! He moved around the last ring of desks, tapping their tops and counting them off, even though everybody knew his 12 was more than good enough to carry him to the fishing line. Congratulations, Mr. Chiltington, Dr. Z said as she handed him the key to the private suite. You are this evening's first winner. Thank you, Dr. Z. I am truly and sincerely honored. Congratulations, Charles, said Kyle. Way to win. Get used to it, Keeley, he answered in a voice only the other could hear. I'm a Chiltington. We never lose. What happened next was extremely cool. A holographic image of a second librarian appeared beside Dr. Z at the center desk. She looked a little like Princess Leia being beamed out of R2-D2 in Star Wars, except she had an old-fashioned bubble-top hairdo, cat's-eye glasses, and tweed jacket with patches on the elbows. Here to present our official library lock and rules, said Dr. Z, is Miss Gail Tobin, head librarian of the Alexandriaville Public Library back in the 1960s, when Mr. Lemoncello was your age. Overhead, the Wonder Dome had shifted back to its 10 Dewey Decimal displays. How old is she? Said Sean Keegan. She'd be 110 if she was still alive, but she's dead and working there. Let's just say her spirit lives on in the hologram. Miss Tobin, the one who helped Mr. Lemoncello so much, Kyle whispered to Kimmy, when he was a kid. I know, her hair looks like a beehive. Kyle shrugged. From what I've seen on TV, the 60s were generally weird. Welcome, children, to the Library of the Future, said the flickering projection. Dr. Z will now pass out Lemoncello Library floor plans, your map and guide to all that this extraordinary building has to offer. Your new library cards will grant you access to all rooms except the Master Control Center, the red door you passed on your way in, and, of course, Mr. Lemoncello's private suite on the 3rd floor. Charles dingled his golden free key in front of his face. I believe you need this to enter that. Miss Tobin ignored him. She was a hologram. That made it easier. Security personnel are on duty 24 hours a day. During your stay, all of your actions will be recorded by video cameras, as is outlined in the consent agreements you and your parents signed earlier. Are we going to be on a reality TV show? Asked Haley, smiling up at a tiny camera with blinking red light. It is a distinct possibility, said Dr. Z. I like television, said the ghostly image of Miss Tobin. Rowan and Martin's Laugh-In is my favorite program. Returning to the rules. The use of personal electronic devices strictly prohibited at all times during lock-in. The security guard, Clarence, and a guy who looked like his identical twin brother entered the rotunda, each of them carrying an aluminum attaché case. Kindly dispose of all cell phones, iPods, and iPads in the receptacle provided by your security guards, Clarence and Clement. Your devices will be safely stored for the duration of your stay and will be returned to you at the conclusion of your activities. Also, you may use the desktop tag computers in this room to comb through our card catalog and conduct internet research. However, these devices cannot send or receive email or text messages, whatever those might be. Remember, I retired in 1973. We still used carbon paper. And now Dr. Z will walk you through the floor plan. Everybody unfolded their map pamphlets. As you can see, said Dr. Z, fiction titles are located here in the reading room. The children's enrichment room with soundproof walls is over there. 2 fully equipped community meeting rooms, as well as the Book Nook Cafe behind those windows where the curtains are drawn, are also located on this floor. Upstairs on 2, you'll find 10 numbered books, each leading into a chamber filled with books, information, and, well, displays related to a corresponding Dewey Decimal category. Kyle raised his hand. Yes? Where's the Electronic Learning Center? Dr. Z grinned. Upstairs on the 3rd floor, where you'll also find the boardroom, the Art and Artifacts room, the IMAX Theater, the Lemoncello Albelia room, the... Can we go upstairs and play? Said Bridget Wadge. I want to try out the Space Shuttle Simulator. I want to learn how to drive a car, said Sean Keegan. A race car. I want to conquer the world with Alexander the Great, said Yasmin Smith-Snyder. Apparently everybody was doing what Kyle had already done, checking out the available educational gameware list on the back of the floor plan. Early access to the Electronic Learning Center will be tonight's second prize, said Dr. Z. To win it, you must use the library's resources to find dessert, which we have hidden somewhere in the building. Whoever does the research and locates the goodies first will be the first one allowed into the Electronic Learning Center. So use your wits and use your library. Go find dessert. Everybody raced around the room and sat down at separate desks to start tapping on glass computer pads. Well, everybody except Sierra Russell. She spent like 2 seconds swiping her fingers across the screen, wrote something down with a stubby pencil on a slip of paper, and wandered off to inspect the 3-story-tall curved bookcases lining the walls at the back half of the rotunda. Kyle watched as she stepped into a slightly elevated platform with handles like you'd see at your grandmother's walker. It even had a basket attached to the front. Dr. Z, yes, Miss Russell, is this safe? 'Cause the book I want is all the way up to the top. Yes, just make sure your feet are securely locked in. Sierra wiggled her leg. Kyle heard a metallic snap. It's like a ski boot, said Sierra. That's right. Now use the keypad to tell the hover ladder the call number for the book you're interested in and hang on tight. Sierra consulted the slip of paper and tapped some keys. The bottom of that platform was standing on is a magnet. There are ribbons of electromagnetic material in the lining of the bookcases. The strength of those magnets will be modulated by your maglev computer based on the call number you input. 2 seconds later, Sierra Russell was floating in the air, drifting up and to the left. It was absolutely awesome. The hover ladder must use advanced magnetic levitation technology, said Miguel, seated at the desk to Kyle's right, just like the maglev bullet trains in Japan. Cool, mumbled Kyle. For the first time in his life, Kyle Kelly wanted to check out a library book more than anything in the world.